hey man, you've been going on. We've heard your conversation for an hour and a half or 2 hours now. Can you tone it down so my wife can sit here in peace? And to treat somebody poorly for sticking up for themselves and for the actual rules. And then this is where I still don't 100% know exactly what she said, but it was either you're a heightened threat or we're under heightened threat. When I travel, there's a few things that I do to make sure things go incredibly smoothly, because they never do. So the first thing I always do when traveling is, one, when making my ticket, make sure all of the check marks are checked. So that means aisle chair, assistance, portable oxygen concentrator, and any other accessibility settings are checked. I then call the airline and confirm that all of those steps have been taken. So I want to make sure that the aisle chair is there. They know the oxygen concentrator is coming. And if there's any new paperwork that needs to be filled out that I wasn't aware, because in the past you needed a doctor's note or you needed to have your oxygen concentrator certified. There's all sorts of stuff I've dealt with in the past. So I always do this. I call the dedicated accessibility line at like Delta or Alaska. Southwest doesn't have a dedicated one, but I still call like, hey. I make sure my seating is correct, because often they say you can't sit here or there. It's a whole thing. And then the other thing I do is I call the TSA. Now I don't actually have to. You can just submit a form online, which is actually great. But what I do is TSA, and this is a good indication for anybody here that might need this service. TSA has a TSA pre-check. Not pre-check. Wrong thing. TSA cares. And what that is, if you have a complex medical situation, you're going through security and you're going to need extra time, or these things are going to flag, and maybe a TSA agent that's new, it's not as trained, is going to be like, woo, let's start terrorizing you. What you could do, and also if you're bringing like ashes or cultural artifacts, religious things, all this stuff, make a TSA cares appointment. It'll save you a lot of time and hassle. So I list out all of my medical stuff, and then it asks, of course, like where are you flying to, where are you flying out of, just so they know, and they put you on the schedule, right? So we get to the airport, and I look for the email that I got from San Diego's TSA for the number. Call the number, and the guy on the phone was like, "Dang man, I don't see you on the list today." And I'm like, shoot. And he goes, no worries. Somebody just didn't put your name on the list for today's TSA care appointments. No worries. But anyway, call the guy. The guy's like, hey, yeah, somebody didn't put you on the schedule, but no problem. I'll call down to the checkpoint and have a supervisor meet you. Says, hold your phone, stand where you are, stand like I was standing. I told him where I was. He says, stand right there. I'll communicate to them that you're standing right next to the pre-check line to go into gates like 20 through 50 or whatever. And I said, sweet. And then I get the call. And I just knew like something's going to go wrong here. Like something's just going to go wrong. But the second I picked up the phone, and this person goes, this is so-and-so with Homeland. I am an agent with Homeland Security. Stay where you are. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I like, she just like silent, and I'm just like, okay, I'm here. So then the lady starts saying, leave me alone. The person starts saying like, I can't see you, like wave your hand. And so I started waving my hand, and she goes, higher. And I'm like, Trunchbull, you guys familiar with Matilda, the movie Trunchbull? You guys familiar with that movie and the kind of the villain of the show, person named Trunchbull? Okay, now we're on the same page here. Higher. And I'm like, and then I finally say, ma'am, I'm in a wheelchair, so my hand is like literally chin level with my dad. I'm just like, I don't know what else to say. I'm like, I don't know what else to say at this point. And then finally I see her. You freaking kidding me? I see her and I go, I see you, just come forward. Like it was like this whole direction thing. The second she got there, I noticed there was like a weird vibe thing. Like there was a vibe. There was like, I think she thought like I was like legitimately like a threat, right? So also, I've never heard anybody just introduce themselves as like an agent of Homeland Security from TSA. That's when I knew it was like. So So then the person gets here and like super acquisitory, and usually like when I do these things and I say, okay, so just to recap before we go to the checkpoint, this is my medical bag. It has medical liquid in it and a lot of medical supplies, because that's the bag that will get flagged because it has an obscene amount of liquid in it. And then I say, like, I have oxygen concentrator on my back. I have a feeding bag. The feeding bag has two, like a formula bag, a water bag. And then I'm not ambulatory. I cannot stand. I have a feeding tube here and here. Just so they know. Like, I figured if you like say these things that maybe just get it out there, that maybe they'll feel comfortable. Like, okay, so this is what I'm dealing with. There's no like surprises, whatever. Just completely ignored like what I said. And then she starts like reaching around like in my cushion, and she goes, "Do they have you remove the cushion? This needs to be removed." And I'm like, I don't know how we would. And then like she's just kind of like silent. And then I've like the other medical bag that I have, she's like looks at that and then goes, "Do they have you removed all of the batteries and the items from here?" And I'm like, I mean, I physically can. Like, like I'm like, I physically can't. I mean, we can. I just need some help. I was like I'm just trying to help, right? I'm trying to be polite. Like, I fully understand being a TS agent is very difficult. Like, that's not an easy job. Like, that's not easy. So I'm trying to be Tardation? So then, I'm trying to whatever, and I'm just trying to think of like the amount of stuff this person put us through, like within like 5 minutes. And then, like the whole time just like being super like you've done something really wrong today. And I've been trying to like retroactively go back and be like, what was this? Was she worried because I wasn't on the schedule but asking for a TSA cares appointment, that somehow maybe that's me trying to smuggle something, like, and she was worried about, like, I was trying to like think that through, right? I'm like, what is going on? And then and I say like, I'm TSA pre-check, and then she ignores that. So I say, my dad and I are pre-check, and then it's like she's just staring at me like so inquisitory. It was like so uncomfortable. And then so then we go through we start going towards the checkpoint. She stops at the guy who takes your ID, and she's like having this conversation with him. He's like, well, they're pre-check. And then she's like, I can't hear what she's saying, but she's like going back and forth, and goes like, they're pre-check, they could go through the pre-check line. And then he kind of like shrugs his shoulders and opens the drawer and like hands us this laminated card. Now, I never got like a great look at the laminated card, but there was like X's through the stuff where it said like pre-check. And I'm like, well, that's odd. Like, like liquids, laptops, stay in the bag, all that stuff. And then she hands me the card, and then like I set it down, and she's like, that needs to stay in your hand. And I'm like, and then they're trying to work it through with my dad, and I'm like, I'm holding the card, and then we're going back and forth, and then it's like move, and I set the card down to move again. She goes, that stays in your hand. I'm like, this is when you're trying to be polite, you don't want to be rude, but you're like, I need my hands to wheel the chair unless you're willing to push me. And she goes, fine. And I set it down, and I wheeled to the conveyor belt. And then I put I'm like struggling to get the suitcase on. And like I get the one with the batteries on. And I'm saying these batteries are like this big that go in the concentrator. And like she's got my dad tied up over in the corner. And I'm like, I'm trying to get my suitcase up there. Finally, like my dad puts the suitcases up there. And then she goes, liquids, laptops, everything out. Everything out of the pockets, all electronics need to go in these bins. And I'm like, and that's when I was like, but I'm pre-check. Like, we don't need to take out laptops, tablets, liquids out of the bag. And then this is where I still don't 100% know exactly what she said, but it was either you're a heightened threat or we're under heightened threat. And she said it 3 times fast, like heightened threat, heightened threat, heightened threat. And I said, even with TSA pre-check. And she goes, take your liquids and your tablet out. And I'm like, and this is like in my brain, I'm like, well, on the way here, that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing on my 2 flights last year. Then I had to go back later and look at TSA pre-check, and I'm like, am I wrong? So like I go back and I'm like, yeah, you can leave those things in your bags. And like I'm like, and you know, like it's one thing if it's like somebody with, you know, some big muscles. Like I am struggling to open this bag with my little muscles, and like I'm trying to get it out, and she's just staring at me. I'm like, you know, you could like help, like turn the suitcase over or like help me in some way. Absolutely not. Like it took me an extra like 8 minutes to get the bag opened, try to find the thing. My dad's doing the same thing. And then she just leaves. She just leaves. She is gone. And then somebody comes over to help my dad through because he's got some things in his brain that they have to be a little bit more mindful and careful of. So he goes through, right? So he goes through. I'm just sitting alone here for a while, and a guy just like comes out of nowhere, and I'm here holding the thing. By the way, I'm holding the thing. I'm holding the card, and he goes, "Are you with somebody, or did somebody leave you here?" And I must have just looked pathetic, and even the way he like acted, I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm just supposed to hold this card. And he goes, why? This TSA agent was great. I liked him a lot. And he goes, okay, whatever. I'll help you go through. So he gets the chair, and he goes through, and then he like pushes the bags through the X-ray machine. By the way, I find her again in a second. So we go through, and he goes, I don't know who you came in with, but I'll get you going, like your pre-check. So all I need to do really is just swipe your hands with like the little thing, and then I might need the swab. Looks like these bags on the back, are these attached to you? And I go, yes, they are. And he's like, no problem. And he says, I'll just need to swab each one, and then we should be good. And then she appears, and she points to the card and takes it from me, and then they have like this conversation. I'm like, what is this card? This laminated card? Like, it was so crazy that I never got like a chance to properly read it. So that's why I'm like, I don't know what that card said. And then they kind of have this back and forth talk again. And then I see her go back. She's at the X-ray machine, and I see the X-ray. It's one of the old, like, it's like, this is the one that didn't have like the automated things. So you have to like roll them through. And I see her like move the suitcase into it with the conveyor belt. It's moving. And I see the conveyor belt going like back and forth, back and forth. She must have searched every one of our bags with a fine-tooth comb with that X-ray machine, just going back and forth inside the machine. Like you could see the conveyor belt going like this. I'm like, lady, I'm not a bad guy. And like, I feel like you're going a little zealous here, my friend. And so this guy does all that. And then, gosh, I feel like she did something else when she reappeared, but I'm like drawing a blank now. It's been a few days. I can't remember. I think she wanted to undo all of my medical bags, and the other TSA guy says he checked them, they're fine, he can go. I think that's how I think that's how that went. I think that like I think he was the supervisor is why that finally went through. Like I think he may have been a supervisor, and that's why like maybe it just finally just ended and we were able to just like go. They called me like a heightened threat, like or a heightened threat environment, or you are like I could never tell the difference. She said it too quick.
I'm seething with anger for you. Flying is hard enough without all of the not fun people around on power trips.
She was definitely on a power trip.
You'll never have to have similar experience. Anyway, I love your content so much. It inspires me to create a lot. I love kitties too.
I love the kitties. They're good little fellows. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate, my friend. Yeah, it's hard to even explain just like the vibe the person gave off. You know, and there's just like this, like you've done something wrong vibe. And it's so kind of like oh no, I think I lost my shulker box. In all that chaos, I lost the gray shulker box. And all those deaths. Oh no. Unless it's on the ground. Oh boy. Oh no, there it is. But there's a creeper. Gosh, guys, there's a creeper standing right next to all those mobs. But yeah, it was just like kind of a feeling, like just like kind of a gross feeling you got from that. Like this person was just really, really rude. Anyway, that was fine. I was like, oh well, fine. Like I'm all kind of discombobulated, and like my dad sorts out the stuff, and we get to the gate, and all of the are you serious? I'm trying to fly away so it despawns. We get to the gate. All the wheelchair seats are taken by people just sitting with like 1,000 luggage things, you know, like a seat that's made for like somebody in a wheelchair and then their companion. All of them are taken. So my dad and I squeezed in between the garbage cans where people throw away all their stuff at TSA, like checkpoint, and then our gate. Our gate was like gate 22 in San Diego, so it's right by the TSA gate. And so we just sit there, and it's fine. Like everybody else is just coughing over in the seats, so like I'm cool just not being near that. And like, but I've only ever had one bad incident where the guy got like verbally upset with me because I couldn't get out of the wheelchair, and then I couldn't lean forward enough for him to search the back of the chair. And he unstrapped my strap to the point where it became like unsafe, and my brother like intervened, and he like took that as like a threat, because my brother like, you know, like jumped up, was like, hey, like if you unstrap that strap, he will fall out of the wheelchair. And he took that as like a threat. And then the guy like kind of like yelled at my brother, and my brother's like, this is again, like I have a bad habit of making early flights, and we're at the airport at like 4:30 in Nashville from Minecon, and my brother's like, this is bullshit. And like the guy like, if you keep using that language, we're gonna escalate this. And he like went on this whole like rant, and like, and my brother just put up his hands. It's like, we just want to get through, just don't unbuckle that strap and have him fall on the floor, because if he falls on the floor, then you're going to have EMS here, and it's going to cause a whole issue. And like my brother and him kind of like agreed to disagree and just put up with it, and we you know made it through there, whatever. But that's my only other like bad one. In Seattle, there was a guy nicknamed Hollywood, nicest guy you could ever imagine. He, you know, I called TSA, and he actually called me and said, hey, you're supposed to go through the checkpoint at this point, because I called the TSA cares thing, and he goes, no dude, we're stuck in the line at Alaska, like it is taking forever. And he goes, nah, I got this. Dude comes not just walking, he comes striding. He was taking big strides, and he just like pulls me like right up to the thing, and he goes, this guy's gonna miss a flight, let's get him going. And so like the people like checked us in. He got us right through security, and he was like, I'm gonna push you to your gate. And I was like, this guy's the greatest. He was the nicest guy imaginable. Like, so that's why I've said, like, not every one of them is bad, like, you know, like that. You know, it's a difficult job, like I get it. But you know who got me the worst, Doc? We get through the TSA, it's fine. This lady, it's one of those things where it's like, that was annoying. This person was just really like on a trip, and it's like, you just put it aside, you're done, let's move on. The Alaska people is where I drew the line of like being actually mad. So like I go to the counter early. Okay. I have family who work for the airlines, so I fully understand how much insane shenanigans they deal with on a daily basis from just immature adult humans that should be in a stroller. So like I know how these people work. I know that when a gate agent arrives at a desk, you don't rush them. You let them settle in, you let them get the laptop going, and then once you kind of get the vibe that they're like, okay, they're ready for it, they're okay if somebody comes up. So, because I have family who are flight attendants and who have literally said these things, so I know how this works. So I go over there and I'm like, hey, want to double check, you know, aisle chair and assistance. And I always warn them that it takes me a little longer to get on the plane than typical pre-boarding, just because like I have all these bags that have to be like sat on my lap. And she just looks at me and goes, you're not on the schedule. Like your ticket doesn't say you need an aisle chair and you have a portable oxygen concentrator. You have to give us 42 hours notice before flying with one of those. And I'm just like, well, and she goes, well, she's like, well, I'm just glad you came up here early, other than just showing up right before your flight. And I'm just like, okay. And I said, like, I and this is one of those times where I'm like, I did like call ahead, and she's like, it's just a person that doesn't want to hear anything. and not that really me saying I called ahead and made sure all this was good, right? Like it's not that would do any good, but there's just me just trying to defend myself, and she just like wouldn't listen. And I go, okay, like she just wouldn't look at me. She was just like typing, and I go, would you like me to go back to my seat or need anything else from me? And she goes, we'll call you. I'm like, okay. Just feeling like absolute garbage. And so then I go back to my dad and I tell him that, and he's just like, it's just gonna get any worse. Right. So like I go back over there and we just wait for a while. We keep hearing these like announcements that's like, Mr. Doc M77, we have a special message for you. Please come up to the podium. Like a Mr. Cupfan 135, we have a special message for you. And so it's like, why do they keep announcing those like announcements? And so like eventually, like the airports guys who help like lift onto aisle chairs onto the airplane seats, they get there and they're super nice. I was hanging out with them. We were talking about machinima. Who remembers machinima back in the day? Because I still have like a machinima bag for when I was partnered with that MCN, which that's a story for another day. It's a great backpack. Not a great organization, but that's fine. But so we had a good chat. We're talking. Right.
The kids these days don't even know who machinima is anymore, Scar. Let it go.
That's true. I'm old, I guess. That's fine. Anyway, so just going through there and was just waiting. And then the guy goes, it looks like they want you to walk up there. And I go up there and there's three of them at that point. And I'm trying to remember. It's been a few days now, so I'm just trying to remember what they said. But it was like, you cannot sit where you're sitting. Like, it's just like, you know what? If you're trying to work a problem, like kindness and professionalism goes a long way. You know, like if we're working a problem, like if for whatever reason they say I can't sit here, it's like, okay, like how do we make this work? And then she's like, you cannot sit where you're sitting, like in a very accusatory, like weird way. It's like, I'm like, okay, but I'm literally in the same seats that I flew down on. So whatever seat that I flew down on, I'm in the exact same seat that I flew down. So I like I've no perception of like why, like, and then she goes, we're separating you from your travel companion. And then because nobody will move their seats, right? And I'm like, okay. And then I asked, like, why can't I sit where I'm sitting? And she goes, there's FAA rules state you cannot sit where you're sitting because of like your oxygen concentrator. And then I'm like, okay, well, this is the first time I probably got a little bit like upset. And I'm like, well, FAA rules state that you cannot separate a caregiver travel companion from a disabled passenger who cannot operate their oxygen concentrator themselves, evacuate the aircraft themselves, or handle any of their other medical needs. That is why he's a caregiver. And then she rolls her eyes, mouths a profanity, and it goes back to her computer. And then like I can hear her tell somebody over there, like kind of like in a really like sarcastic way, like says he can't operate his whatever, so we're gonna have to force move somebody. And they're just over there like just like chit chatting, like in this like so really nasty, man. Really like gross way. And it's like, and I'm just sitting there like looking. I just feel like an absolute fool, like just sitting there. And I asked the other gate agent, I'm like, hey, like, how do I prevent this in the future? I called, did these things. She just will not listen to me. And I'm not saying we're like 10 feet away. We're like 3 feet away, looking like straight at each other. Like she would not acknowledge me as they like fiddled with their computers. And then she kind of waved at the San Diego airport employees who help like transfer and move, and just wave, you can bring him down. Yeah. And like just no eye contact, nothing. Just like, I was like, how did I upset this person so badly? I'm like, what in the world? And so we go, she never scanned my boarding pass, by the way, like, which was kind of odd, like I still had it in my hand like a goof. And I'm like, so I don't know if she did it on her computer, but I've had other times where gate agents run down the jetway because like just the craziness of getting me on a plane, like all the extra assistance and stuff. Like sometimes they forget and like, oh shoot, we got to scan that. Like, so we finally get like down there, and like man, those people like made me feel like absolute garbage. Like, it's just like the TSA person. It's like, it's hard to convey like the attitude through just like speaking, you know, like telling you the story. But it's like the TSA person I could just forgive.
No,
like,
I can envision it. I mean,
I can forgive the TSA person. Like, she's just taking her job really serious. These gate agents at Alaska were some of the rudest people I've ever dealt with flying.
Well, yeah, that's what I just wanted to say, man. Like, it is no coincidence when you see people raging in public videos. Half of them is in airports, because you know those people know, right? When there's somebody there that likes to be power tripping, they know they will always win. You know, try to start a fight at an airport and see what happens, right? So it's like, some people, they are just, not good people. I mean, how about like no empathy at all, right? Making you feel like you're already, it's a huge hassle for you with traveling and all that, and then they give you the feeling like you're a burden on top of things.
Yeah.
We need to force move somebody. Lord have mercy. I mean, wow. We some random dude that sits on a random seat probably wouldn't mind.
I know they called quite a few people up, and apparently, like, I guess none of them moved. But the thought that they would even like the way that they like, dude, it's I'm so chill, and like if we're trying to work a problem, like, hey, you need to do this or you need to do that, like, just being like normal, like polite human goes a freaking long way with me. Like, if we're just trying to like work a problem, but like to just like, oh my god, it's so distract him. Oh shoot. Wait, I think we flew into it last time. That worked.
Yeah, it works. He's bumping.
I think one more bang will get him in there. Yeah. I think. But yeah, and so then we got on the flight. The guys did a great job getting me on. They were super nice. And then we get on the plane, and this was like the flight of just doom, Doc. So we get on there, and this is what I've learned a little bit since then, is that so San Diego is a single runway airport, and because it's a approach, or the runways are very close to buildings, it's that if there's low-lying clouds or fog, it's pretty dangerous, and they'll delay because of just the proximity to the buildings. So like our clearance got revoked or something for weather. So like, because I'm listening to ATC just trying to understand what they're saying, and they're like so it got revoked or something, and they had to like, you know, wait out the weather or do whatever they do. I don't understand ATC. I'm just trying to listen and just figure out why we're delayed. And so we're sitting there, dude. Look at it. It looks pretty good up there, doesn't it? Look at that.
It's cool.
So we're sitting there, and we're pushing like an hour at this point or something like that. We're pushing an hour, and we're taxiing now. Like we're at least going onto the ramp, and then you know, like the planes, like if you hear like if somebody's a big walker, like they thud, like, you know, you can hear that echo. You know that what I'm saying? Like the floor is kind of like hollow, so you can kind of hear like a thud pretty loud. No, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, it was just.
But so I hear that, and I'm like, what the heck? And this lady is just running flat out to the front of the aircraft during taxiing. So we're like on an active taxiway. So that's like a huge, obviously, red flag when you stand up during like active taxiing. And she's running up. The flight attendants both stand up from their jump seats and like put their hands up, and then they realize quickly, like, oh no, this lady's going to the bathroom. And the one flight attendant, like, just, this is like a split second, like thinking like, why is the lady running? Oh, and opens the door, runs in there, and just having a fit of it in the bathroom. It felt bad for her. And so that means now we are now held because this person got up during taxiing, so we're kind of like in a holding position, and then she has to be removed from the aircraft. And look, I don't blame her. Like, I don't blame her. Like, if you're sick, like, the last thing you want to do is start flying. So like she must have asked to leave, and then I can hear the flight attendant say, "Okay, we are on an active taxiway. You cannot get up. You have to use this bag." could you imagine sitting by that person? Oh no. And so this person goes back to her seat, and I'm listening to ATC, and like the pilot's hilarious. He's like, yeah, we had a I forget what he used. He had some kind of word for it, and then so we need to do a 180 to go. We got to do a 180 to go back to the gate. But the problem is, because of the weather, there's a bunch of planes kind of like sandwiched on the taxiway. So we had to wait out the delays on those other flights for us to be able to pull forward, make a 180, and go back to another gate so this person could get off. And then eventually, after all that, we're pushing like 2 hours. We go back to the gate. This person gets off. And like I said, I don't blame her. I would have probably wanted to get off if I was that sick. Maybe should have thought of that a little earlier before getting on a plane, but so she gets off, and then the pilot comes back on and was like, hey, we had an incident with a passenger. What the heck?
Magic.
Whoa, that's fancy. And so like they get off, right? They get off, but then the pilot's like, but we're like back at like we're at like starting point now, because we came back, so that means like we're in the back of the queue. Like I don't know airline stuff enough, but I'm just guessing by him saying that means like if we came back, that means that we're now in the back of the line for planes to take off. So we have to wait a long time at the gate, and finally we get the pushback, and we're stuck on the runway now for a little while. And there's a guy one row ahead and to the side, so he's like just in front. He's like one row ahead of me, and then so this guy is like a big guy. He's got a toupee on that's like askew, and he for this entire time is talking up a storm, like super loud, super obnoxious. At it's like one of those things where you just kind of like, you just tune out, and it's like, oh my god, this guy is like super loud and obnoxious, but you just tune him out, right? At least I did. And then the guy in front of us, so the guy in front of me has had enough, and he like turns around, and he just starts like, hey man, you've been going on. We've heard your conversation for an hour and a half or 2 hours now. Can you tone it down so my wife can sit here in peace? And this guy.
One second, Scar. Be right back.
Oh, he's gone.
Karen, there's something with Karen. Be right back.
Hi, Karen. Dude, this guy, guys. Like, this is the thing when it comes to this type of stuff. It's like, the guy being kind of obnoxious, it's like he's a bit obnoxious, but you can kind of like tune this person out. Like, at least I can. It's just like, phew. But then the guy sitting in front of us was kind of like, whatever. He's kind of the person I assume has always gotten his way with whatever he wants type of like attitude. Like, listen to my authority. What I say, goes. You know that kind of. Let's see if the camera can turn back on. It's broken. You know that vibe, right? It's like, if I say something, you must comply with what I say, no matter what type of vibe. And so that guy starts kind of mocking the guy. So that's when I was like, oh no, because the guy with the toupee askew is now having a laugh over the fact that this guy is so mad, and he starts just kind of like mocking him, and these guys were in first class, and he goes, hey man, come on, you're in first class, show some class, you're getting all upset about nothing. And the guy in front of me is right, he is seething over that. And there's some choice words exchanged, and when the choice words start flying, that's when I was like, oh, this could go bad. And so then he stands up, and his like wife pulls him down, and she's like, you're gonna get us kicked off the flight. And then he's like, yeah, listen, your wife's speaking the truth, sit down, enjoy your flight. And he's being obnoxious. Like, this guy's obnoxious, clearly, but the other guy is like actively trying to escalate this into like a fight. The flight attendants stand up again. I couldn't imagine how upset they are about the whole day, and this is their first flight of the day, and it is going poorly. And then he sits down, that guy turns around and goes right back into his like loud conversation. My concentrator is not working fantastic, so I had it off for a little while to try to see if it would like stop me if it was overheating. I turn it back on and it's just beeping. Guy in front of me, she's like, where's this beeping coming from? Where's this beeping coming from? And then his wife's like, I think it's coming from behind us. Is this going to be going the whole flight? I turn to my dad, I'm like, yes, sir. I'm like, yes, sir, it is going to be beeping the whole flight. So sit back and relax and enjoy Scar's concentrator as it slowly implodes from the inside. And it took us, I think we were at 2 hours, 2.5, something like that, hours before we made it to a lineup and wait like spot. And thankfully, like however we got out of the airport, like we did. Some other aircraft were delayed longer listening to ATC. So for people who know like airport stuff, I assume that maybe we were taking off on a different direction than they were going, where the clouds were worse. I have no idea. But thankfully we got out of there. Those two didn't fight anymore. And we had like a relatively peaceful flight. We get to Portland and, this was a 2-hour flight turned into about a 5 to 6 hour flight with all the delays on the ground and the taxiing nightmare and all that stuff. I can't remember. It's just a blur, but we should have got to Portland at like 9 o'clock, 9 something. And I think we got there at like 1 or 1. I can't remember, somewhere around there. And because the flight was so delayed, when this is what frustrates me about airlines, is when the aircraft is delayed, and because I need extra time to get off the aircraft, they rush me so hard. So I have to transfer onto an aisle chair and then onto my chair, but my chair is broken down into a bunch of pieces that I have to put together. And then I have to make sure my feeding tube, which is attached to my intestine, and my oxygen concentrator all come with me. And so they're rushing me off like Alaska is. And like they're throwing the bags on my lap. The cords are getting like wrapped around my head. And it's like, and so like, like they're wrapping like the cords like all around. I'm like basically tied up with cords. I'm like, and so, you transfer. And then, I get to my chair and like the chair is like all improperly put together, right? My cushion is backwards and my cushion is very like designed. So it's like, there's the cells, it's all made up of little air cells, and the air cells are all like mapped to sit in a very specific way. And so I'm just sitting like this, like I'm rolling like basically on like one spot. And they get me up.
Sauronita tipped $20 for that private jet fund.
Private jet fund. Thank you for the tip. That's very appreciative. Thank you. And get to the top of the jetway, and they just leave me there. Like, and my dad's, struggling with all the bags. Like, my dad's older. Like, like he's got his backpack, he's got my bags, he's got the bag with the batteries, and like he's just struggling to get up there. And they leave me like right at the door of the jetway, and there is an entire 737-900 worth of passengers wanting to go to Seattle, just standing there like, our flight's been delayed so many hours, and like all like kind of looking at me. They're all lined up. I'm the last person off that jetway, just feeling like trash again, like all these people staring at me. I'm all like tied up, and like I just like hobbled my chair in my like, because I can't sit down right, so I'm kind of like wobbly. Like I hobbled the chair over to the corner, and like my dad and I just tried to like put some pieces back together. And like it was just the flight of horror, because it's like when you come up the jetway and there is literally a 737-900 worth of passengers just standing there staring at you. And plus when you're in the jetway and they're trying to rush you on, like the previous crew was waiting for me to get off, the new crew was waiting for me to get on, and they're both all looking like super impatient. And it was just like, it's such an uncomfortable flight. Like, I don't know. It'll probably be another like year before I even like muster the strength to think about flying again ever. That was miserable.